Welcome back to He Met Me in the Middle. I'm Breanne Sims, RN, co-founder of Kingdom Fasting.
And I'm Sheri Johnson, certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner with Empowered Health Coaching. And it looks like this is going to be a hot one because we have been fighting the enemy for over 15 minutes. So just saying.
So it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Miss Aura Lynn-Rouse. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. I love your name, Aura. It's so beautiful. Aura is a business owner. She runs Angels of Mercy Ministries and Angels Second Chance Boutique. She believes in the power of second chances because she's lived it. Following a 2008 accident and subsequent 4-year prison sentence, she had to face the grueling reality of starting over. And through the grace of Christ and a commitment to sobriety, she didn't just rebuild, she was restored. So as founder and CEO, she now dedicates her life to women walking the same path that she once did, from providing a safe haven in their transitional homes and offering life skills and recovery within the correctional facility. She provides essential resources at the Angel Second Chance Boutique for their community, and she's committed to breaking the cycle of homelessness and incarceration, and she's been sober since 2008, and she's here to prove that with the right tools and a foundation of faith, your future is still yours to write. So her journey is proof that restoration is possible, and she's honored to share the tools that transformed her life. And so we're excited to hear about that today. So where do you want to start today?
We can start at the beginning. How about that? So
Okay.
I was born in 1972 to some hippie parents, hence the name Aura. And my papa was a Rolling Stone. My mom got tired of that lifestyle. And at 2 years old, we left him in California. And we moved around a lot because my mom was an Army brat, so she couldn't sit still very long. I got the opportunity to live in Washington State, Oregon, California, of course, Missouri, Texas a couple times, Florida a couple times, Mexico a couple times. New Jersey was home. My grandparents had a home in New Jersey, and so we would leave, and then we would come back to Jersey, leave, come back to Jersey, type of thing. And my grandfather was the only stable male figure in my life. He was a Jewish man who married a Catholic woman. And I call my mom agnostic for most of her life because she was searching for the truth. We did Hanukkah, Christmas, Easter, and Passover, but I was never in a church, never in a synagogue, never had a Bible in my hand. I would see my grandfather often in his closet praying with his hat on, but I didn't really understand what was going on there. And so my grandfather passed away when I was 11. He was like my best buddy. Things went downhill from there for me. I became very rebellious in school. I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do, and I wanted to do things my way. And I would get in trouble, but I would always pass classes. And about age 13, mom was having such a hard time making me go to school. They were going to put her in jail because I wasn't going to school. And so they sent me to Vineland Children's Residential Treatment Center, where I was first diagnosed with socially maladjusted and oppositional defiance disorder. And it was a 6-month program. You just had to follow the rules, and then you'd go home. Rebellious. And the first week, me and about 7 girls went AWOL and tried to our respective homes. And they found me, and I had to start all over. But that was the start of like my mission, I guess you would say. And so from there, I would tell the counselors what they wanted to hear, but I would never really open up and talk about things. And I came home at 14 and still continued to do the same things. And at 15, my mom said, let's move. Let's geographical changes. We move out of this situation and she'll be fine. So we came to Florida. I started working, decided I was going to quit school at 16, get my GED and work. My mother moved out, bought a home when I was 17, and my roommate and I got a place. And I smoked, I drank, I got high. I started really young. Like my first taste of alcohol was 7 years old. I opened up the can for my mom's boyfriend and tasted it. Not saying I was an alcoholic at 7. The experimental days had started about 12. I'd say, smoking cigarettes, then pot, and drinking alcohol. And I grew up around a lot of older folks, and they thought I was older. So anyway, I When I was in Florida, I didn't really know a lot of people, so I curbed a lot of the things. I did drink on occasion, but that was probably the extent of it. And going to school, college after my GED, didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was taking prerequisites. And I met my daughter's father, Reggie, and I had Jaleesa when I was 18. And so at 18, I thought, I got to do something with my life. I got this little girl here, and I tried to work part time, go to school part time. Just really couldn't figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I did a myriad of things during these times. I was a nurse's aide, cashier, waitress, sold flowers on the side of the road, jack of all, master of none. Again, still no relationship with the Lord, doing things in my own time, in my own way. My mother started to have a relationship with Christ in 1996, and that was the first time. I'll rewind a little. I had a DUI in 1993, and from that point, I couldn't really get my life together. You had to like take these classes, you had to pay these fines, and I was a single mom, and it was just really difficult for me to do that. So I couldn't figure out how to do that, navigate that, and I would get caught driving, and there'd be an open container in my vehicle, and I'd go to jail. And my mom would always come and rescue me. And so 1996, I had a violation of probation. And that was because I couldn't move. My mom couldn't get me out. Nobody could touch me. I had to sit there for 60 days. And that's when I encountered Chaplain Westmoreland. And Chaplain Westmoreland volunteered at the jail for most of her life. And she would play the guitar, and she would teach us scripture songs with the guitar. I didn't have anything better to do, so I might as well go to chapel. I was in chapel every day almost, and I did go to AA. But I never thought I was an alcoholic. That's what those people under the bridge with a bag in their hand. I drank like everybody else around me. I did the prayer with Chaplain Westmoreland in 1996, and I call it that 18-inch disconnect. I said it because it was the right thing in my head, but I didn't really believe that Jesus would die for me. Like, he might die for those good people that went to church or those people that had it figured out. But why would he die for me? Because he knew what I did, right? And so nothing changes, nothing changes. I left there and skipped all the way home singing the song, Unto Thee, O Lord, that she taught me. And I got to the house, and Jaleesa's dad was staying there with her, and there were dishes all over, and it was filthy. And I forgot I was a Christian and immediately started cussing. So I started doing the same things again. I was drinking, drugging. I actually worked for a massage service at that time. Drive these girls to massages. I didn't realize that was a human trafficking type of thing, but that's really what was going on. And so my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer in that same year, and probably closer to 97. Sorry, 97. She was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she was like just had met the Lord, and she was really walking with him. And I thought, there's just no way. The doctors gave her a year, and I was like, there's no way. But she prior to that had MS, so she did the surgery, she did the chemotherapy, but she wasn't willing to do it. And she moved into a hospice place, and I remember the last time I went to go see her, the chaplain met me, and she said, "You're going to have to tell her goodbye." There's no way I'm telling her goodbye. She's listening. And I went into the room, and it was like the lights are on and nobody's home. And she was talking to my grandfather. She kept talking about the angels, and so I got in the bed with her, and I told her, "You did a great job. I love you. I'm going to miss you, but I'm going to be okay." And so she passed that next day. My life was crashing around me. This is my best friend, like the only one who's really there for me. It was always me and my daughter against the world, but she was always there. I realized I wanted to be a nurse. I saw those hospice nurses taking care. And I did. I became a LPN first, and then an RN. I worked for home care at first, and I wasn't really drinking and drugging as much. I was in school, and I'm focused, and I'm trying to do the next right thing. And I think I left out. I had left Jaleesa's dad after 7 years. He had narcissistic behaviors. Now, he loved the Lord, but he had a lot of narcissistic behaviors. Luckily, we co-parented, and he would bring Jaleesa to church, so she grew up knowing the Lord, even though I wasn't following him. And then I started working at the hospital full time after I got my RN in 2003. I got my first brand new car. I'll tell you, I have 19 lemons. When you ride over a speed bump, the whole axle falls off. Buy a car at a garage sale for $350. These type of cars. So I had just working as an RN on the floor with a stable job with insurance. I bought my first home, my first new car, and life was good. I had a relationship after that, guy named Ricky, who was a straight alcoholic and snorted through. And so I had left him. So I was like single for the first time, really enjoying life and working. And then I met my charge nurse, wanted to go out and drink, and she needed a little cocaine, and I knew where to get it. And so that's how I met my now ex-husband. He was selling it, and we were just friends. He had 2 little children. And when he went to jail, his baby's mom cheated on him. And so we became more than friends after that. And I ended up in this toxic relationship with him. And at 35, I thought it was menopause. My daughter was 16. And I went to the doctor to get pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not. Because I had great plans. I was going to go travel nurse with my other cohort at the job. And Jaleesa was going to be 18 in a couple of years. And so they were tears, but they weren't a joy at first. But Jordan is definitely my blessing. I should be grateful for every blessing God has given me. I didn't always see him as blessings at first. Ben, we call my ex-husband Ben. His name is John, but we call him Ben, his middle name. So he said he's going to marry me, make me an honest woman. So Jordan was born in January of 2008. Ben and I were married in May of 2008. And then in October of 2008, a friend of mine said, you got your friend Lacey pregnant? And I was like, no, there's no way. I do have to rewind a little. I had a reckless driving in 1996. And so I had this reckless driving, and I was awaiting drug court. And so I was out on bond. It was 96. But anyway, and I was out on bond, and I had been 2 years clean and sober. And 2006. That's what it was. Sorry. So 2006, I had this reckless driving, and I'm out on bond. I'm waiting drug court because if I get a felony, they'll take my nursing license. So I did the Grove outpatient, and I was cured of this alcoholism, right? And again, because I never thought I was an alcoholic. I never thought I had an issue. And so every time I went to AA, I would just have them sign my people, but I never listened to what they said because it didn't apply to me. So when I had this tragedy, I didn't have a program of recovery. I didn't have anybody to call. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have meetings to go to. I didn't have a church family. And so I called the same people, did the same thing, expecting a result, insanity again. We went out maybe the third night of me going out. I worked a 12-hour shift at the hospital. It was November 12th, 2008. And I got off of work. My daughter had recently been saved. And so she was like, Mommy, just come to church with me. And I was like, I don't know nothing about church. You watch my kid. And I'm like, I started at one bar with a friend of mine, and I hadn't drank in 2 years, and I had lost 70 pounds after my son. So I didn't drink a lot. Like I had a drink here at one place and then one at the next place, but I was being real cautious. And we ended up at this last bar, and the person, a car salesman who sold me my Highlander was there, and he kept buying me drinks, and I kept giving it to my friend because, like I said, I knew I couldn't drink. And so on the way home, we were both asleep at the wheel because apparently we had other plans. He had put Xanax, the toxology, took Xanax in his blood. And I woke up to a loud crash, and my windshield was burst, and Robin was dead asleep, and I was trying to wake her. And so I couldn't really wake her, and I did a U-turn to come back, and some guy waving. And my ex-husband was real stalkerish at the time. He took my son from me, and I thought, oh my gosh, he saw me at the bar. Like he had somebody throw a brick at me. This is my thought process. So the car where Robin was like a block away. So I dropped her at her vehicle and and behind me sitting there, afraid to go home. The police come and said, you hit somebody. And, there's no way. I tried to tell them what I think happened. He said, no, you hit somebody. They won't tell me how the guy is. It's an accident clears. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So they hear the accident. They still are not telling me. Take me to the station downtown. And I'm sitting outside the guy's office. He's so nice. He's calling his wife. And I'm like sobbing, like this nice husband. And this lady walks by. She's, ma'am, are you okay? I'm like, can't hardly talk. And I say my daughter's name, Jaleesa. And she said, I know Jaleesa. I'm like, oh, great. No, she goes to church with me, or her walk has changed, or talk has changed. And I was like, good. Can you call her? Because she should be going to school pretty soon. And she has my son. That was like my first God wink in the moment. And then the detectives or the folks come with the manila folder and bring me in the room to question me, and it says homicide. And so in that moment, I'm checked out. I can't talk. I'm pretty much hysterically crying. Now they're really angry with me, trying not to talk to them. I remember them bringing me to the Johnny Pulpit. She was super, super tight, and he was not very nice. And I can't tell you what he said, but I know I cried the whole way. And then when I got to the jail, they booked me, and still really can't talk. Just in shock. Everybody sounds like Charlie Brown and muffled. And I get into the drunk tank, and on the wall is Exodus 14. And this is like the first time I ever wanted to get back into the jail population so I could get a Bible and see what that meant, because I knew the Lord was speaking to me. And he said, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord that he fight for me. And that's exactly what he's done ever since. He's been fighting this whole time for me, and probably fighting against him before I actually became a savior. So I get out on bond, and home for a little while, but because of that charge I had prior, it violated the bond by getting me charged. So he came and rearrested me. I sat in Johnny Pope Correctional Facility for 395 days awaiting trial. I watched this revolving. Stacy is the first person who I fasted and prayed with, the first person who told me that I was a good, and she would be eaten out of there. Like, I couldn't understand. She would be on fire. She was going to change the world. She was going to save all the souls out there at the crack house. Like, she had all these great aspirations, and 10 days later she died. And I just couldn't understand it. And there was no help. There was nobody out here to help them, and would have to go back to the same way of living. They would have to, like, prostituting. They didn't have any way to feed themselves, and then they felt so bad about what they were doing. And then they'd be back on drugs. And it was just a vicious cycle. In that 395 days, I became chaplain woman's assistant. I did the Bible studies. I was teaching. I was learning more about how much Jesus loved me, no matter how I felt about myself, because I couldn't love myself. I was an RN who saved lives, and I took a life. So it was super difficult. Learning how to let go and let God, boy, I did that real well in there. My ex had Lisa sent back to Virginia with her dad, and DCF was called because she was watching my son there, and she was about 16, and then he moved Lacey and the kids in there, and there was just nothing I could do. He lost my house, every heirloom I've ever had, my cars, and I just really learned how to trust God with everything. So I went to Gadsden, which is a prison up there in Panhandle, and I did everything that I could while I was there. I was in faith-based for a year. I learned a lot more about the Lord. Taught a lot of Bible studies within there. And went to RTU, which is Residential Treatment Unit. That is like rehab on steroids. And in there, you got to tell on people in prison. That's pretty cool. But if you don't tell, everybody else is punished. I learned a lot. I was in a meeting every day in counseling, writing papers, doing essays. Like, I was constantly working on myself. Anything that they had available, art therapy, any kind of, they had an auditorium. I started working on my physical health. I lived a sedentary lifestyle before that, 220, size 20 my whole life after Jaleesa, and 180 pounds, doing my first 5K, as healthy as possible in prison, and just really trying to work on myself totally. Like, I knew I was an alcoholic, but why? I did my first 12 steps in Celebrate Recovery on the inside, which is a 12-step program for anyone with hurts, habits, or hang-ups. And I started to begin to see the freedom in that, and that God had allowed these things to happen in my life because there was a purpose behind it. And He knew I wouldn't be able to stop talking about Him. And so that's what we've been doing, is talking about Him. He gave me this vision and put it down. I actually have it because I show this folder to the gals in jail when I go in to the Angels on the Inside. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to try to show it to you. And so this is the vision He gave me, Habakkuk 2 and 2. And it was 12/24/11. And He said, make it plain on a tablet, which I did. And I drew it out, and I was a transition home. It was an 8-sided building. I was like, wow, Lord, that's great, because they need it. Wonder who's going to do that. I end up coming out of prison in 2012. July 18, 2012. I was in work release at Lee and Ritz, and I shucked oysters. That was a whole other story. But I was a light in a dark place there. And then I came home and I was on community control. By the way, I had 4 years of Department of Correction, 2 years community control, and 20 probation. It was a 30-year sentence. They couldn't double charge me, leaving the scene of the accident and DUI manslaughter. So it's DUI manslaughter enhanced. And so, mind you, I couldn't do a year before. So I was like, there's no way. But God made a way out of no way. I did come home and I reinvented myself. I had taken my nursing license. I became a paralegal because I thought if I become paralegal, I'll be able to get my driver's license back. We're still praying for that in its time, right? When I started to work as a paralegal, I made less money as I did shucking oysters, right? So I went before the judge after the 4 years in, the 2 years community control, and the 2 years of regular probation, and asked them to release me because I couldn't go before the board of nursing and ask for my nursing license back until end of sentence. So amazingly enough, they never do that. You usually have to do half your time before they release me after 23 years of probation. I went before the board of nursing. I got my nursing license back 5-1. And I became a legal nurse consultant with a large firm downtown, making the same amount of money that I made when I went into prison. God restored me to my family, to my children, to a home better than I had. And he had given me so many promises in prison, like that he would restore all the cankerworm and locust. He did that he would give me the house that I didn't build with my own hands. He did that like several times. It was first like a little FACC for me and my son, and we had bunk beds and everything I needed to wash or to dry or the TV, like everything was there, right? And I thought, that's it. Then he gave me the condo, same thing, and then the home. Like he just always wowed me. Like when I think, wow, that's so amazing, and then he like wows me even more. And so as I'm working as a legal nurse consultant, I'm going to downtown Orlando on my bike, my bus, bike, train, plane, whatever, however I got there, right? And I tell the girls, I rode 31 miles in the rain. Don't tell me you can't make it. I sound like my mother. And so I would think about this vision constantly in my mind. We need to do this, Aura. And so 2019, it was really heavy on my heart after our Daniel fast at church. And I went up for prayer, and Brother Kip prayed for me and said God was going to show me the stepping stones, and I was going to walk in them. And I did an RFA, which is a request for application with the county here about this old Boys Town building. It was directly in front of my old house before prison, and I would stop and drop my daughter at the bus stop. It was closed down. And I'd see that building forever and ever, and I thought, that's it. That's where it's going to be, Lord. And so I'm sitting in this room with these giants like Habitat for Humanity and the Sharing Center and these I don't even have a nonprofit yet. And I'm like, what? And I'm sitting with this other lady, Kim Fogel, who now has another ministry, amazing, Home for Good. And so I'm like, what's it pro forma? I have no clue. And so I do this business plan, and I have to have it time stamped and dated, and within 30 days. And everybody's like, there's no way you're going to get all that done. By the grace of God, every moment and every waking hour, I poured into this project, and the Lord gave it to me. Of course, it was just me. And so I missed the deadline by 5 minutes. Everything that could go wrong went wrong that day, and I was heartbroken. I was like, no, I failed the Lord. I was sobbing. And all of a sudden, he reminded me, Romans 8:28, which I stand on. That's my life verse. And he works all things. And we know that he works all things together for the good for those who love him, who are the called according to his purpose. And I said, okay, Lord, this is your ministry. If you want it to happen, it's going to happen. And probably a week or two later, I got an application I was going to Northland Celebrate Recovery at that time, and Lori Jean was the director, and she gave me this application called Ministry Possible. And I was like, okay. So I filled it out, took those same 5 binders I had, and I tweaked them a little bit, and I presented, I call it Christian Shark Tank, in front of about 5 gentlemen. And they liked it. They had some really tough questions, but they liked my idea, and then they didn't tell me anything right away. And then I had also had a meeting with this guy, Stan, through another nonprofit. And he took me to his ranch. Me and my son went and checked out his ranch. He had like 144 acres out here. And he had like cabins, and he wanted to do a tiny community for trafficked the veterans and the incarcerated. And I was like, that's great, but I want to reintegrate them back into society. It was way out. There was no public transportation. And so anyway, then they called. They were like, we love it. go get a house. I was like, okay, like I walked by Faith who's buying the house. How much is the house? They were like 500,000. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I tiptoed on Faith right then. I didn't really move too fast. And then Larry was like, why don't you find somebody who will lease you a house so you don't have too much skin in the game? I was like, yeah, somebody's going to lease me a house. I'm going to sublease it to drug addicts and felons that are going to move in. And oh, okay. And then that same guy, Stan, that I had met, was buying 4 houses in a estate sale. Barbara Jackson owned 28 homes in Sanford and affordable housing. And so she was in a nursing home and her son was selling them. So he said, this house or this house? They were right next to each other. Which one, what would you do? I drew out a picture, told him. He said, well, which one do you want? And I said, well, whatever the Lord wants me to have. And so he got us the bigger one, 2 bedroom, 1 bath on each side. We renovated, became 3 bedroom, 2 bath on each side. God provided almost everything. We paid for minimal things, the labor, but brand new ACs inside and out donated, counters, cabinets, flooring. He just made a way, made it beautiful. The city church did a service Saturday, made it really pretty outside, paid for the landscape, dusted the concrete. Just amazing things that happened over that time. And Lisa, who was my house mother, heard my testimony at Aspire, and she said, I'm going to help you with that clothing closet because I'm an RN. And so she wanted to be a legal nurse consultant. So we talked about that. She said she was going to help me. Yeah, that didn't happen. She actually became my house mother, left out of rehab with a $60,000 job, transitional housing, and her counselor said, you always do things the same. She made some comment to her. She said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to go work for Aura. She was like, wait, are you doing drugs? You're going to go work for free? And so she did. She worked for me for free, moved into the house. We got our first angel. She moved in February 2020 and our first angel in February 2020. And Lindsay was a hot mess express, I'll say the least. But she had her first, out of 40 years of her life, her first year clean and sober with us, got to reunite with one of her adopted out children, Scarlett. And we rented the front half out to a single mom to help us pay for the program. We've been helping ladies since. We opened up the front of the house for ministry and then outgrew that. And we did start, that clothing closet turned into Angels Second Chance Boutique, which started in 700 square feet. We went to 2,200 square feet, and now we're in 3,700 square feet. And it's way more than a store. We provide clothing to the unsheltered, food. We get donations from Chick-fil-A, Wawa, Olive Garden, Clicks, and Arby's. People can come here every day. They can get a hot meal. They can subsidize their children, gifts for the kids, whatever, right? Wow. On Tuesdays, 2 for 2, they can come and shop from 12 to 2 in the back room and get 2 outfits and 2 pairs of shoes. I give away $25 certificates to the Rescue Outreach Mission, to the Recovery House, to the Safe House, to anyone at the Cookie Project. And I do Angels on the Inside, which is life skills over a 4-week course. We go in with several volunteers under me. It's not a faith-based, I go in under education, but my disclaimer is we're all Christians, we love the Lord, we hope He's our best friend. But if you're Muslim, you're allowed to come in, you know what I mean? But we're going to talk about them. And so we get to talk about the trauma that they've been through in their lives. We get to talk about recovery, basic life skills, budgeting, finance, employability. Don Sippy does a resume for them to have, and they also receive a $25 gift certificate that is in the shop. And so I get to do all of these things, and the ladies work here at my shop. My angels volunteer here at the shop. Like I said, we outgrew the other house, and we were gifted on Christmas Day in 2024. Jesus gave us TARP, which is the Angel's Restoration, because He is our cover. And it's on an acre. It's beautiful. There's 2 duplexes on property. Lisa stayed living in the homes with the ladies, and then she moved over there in 2025. She started back nursing. She's now the VP of my ministry, and I have an amazing resident recovery manager. Her name is Christina. She has a wealth of knowledge. She's a college grad at the Lord. She's worked the steps. She's been a case manager. She's got all the edges that the Lord needs to help us. And our program is God, recovery, and everything else. It's a 6 to 18 month program. We provide basic needs for them when they get here. I've never turned anyone away because they have to pay. It is a hand, not a handout. We have program fees. We do have an entrance fee. So we find creative ways. Hopefully they can be part of Operation Help, and hopefully they can go there, get their life skills, and they can provide that for them for 3 months. If not, just add on maybe 25 weeks start working to pay off their arrears. And we just help them to find their relationship or regrow it or strengthen it, depending. Almost every single woman who's come to me has been baptized, accepted Jesus as their Savior. I had a Satanist one time who said the prayer with me on the waterfront, right? She's been one of my 4-time winner. I still believe in her. She hasn't made it through my program. She's in another program right now. But her testimony is so strong that the enemy is so against her. He's always telling her about it. So he's not really sick. She does good and then she does. I have many success stories of ladies and how they've been reunited with their children, how they've found freedom and become residents at Kim Kogel's Home for Good. She built 10 2-bedroom, 1-bath affordable housing. 3 of my angels that live there. So basically, they come in from prison, jail, or rehab to TARP, and they're case managed through Christina. We figure out what do they want to be when they grow up at school, do they want to work. They usually go through the operation. We hope that they qualify for 3 weeks, give them a little bit of stability. They get involved with the church, not baptized, get baptized, and recovery. So if they're an alcoholic or an addict, we go to AA. If they want to go to NA, Celebrate Recovery at City Church. So those type of physical addictions, they are required through Celebrate Recovery. Get a mentor, get a sponsor, and really start enjoying life, living life on life. Just trusting God. Like I live life with the ladies, and I show them, and I show the ladies in jail. Listen, don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because all things are possible for Christ. And I've been told no many times, and I've been told you're not going to do that, you're not going to get that. They let me go into the jail. They gave me a badge, right? Like the same jail that I was in, the same prison that I was in. I go back into that one for and it's just amazing. They say welcome to work, but I get there, right? Like I tell these ladies, don't let anybody dull your shine, and don't let them tell you that your past defines you, because it doesn't. We've made mistakes. Everyone has made mistakes, and guess what? We're going to make more mistakes, and it's okay. But you just got to dust your knees off, quickly repent, and ask the Lord to help you with whatever it is you're struggling. In recovery, I'm only as sick as my secrets. If I keep this stuff to myself and I don't tell anybody, then the enemy can play. I still am an active member of AA. I celebrate 17 years clean and sober. I'm actually, like I said, the director at Celebrate Recovery. Actually, I'm a board member of our local church. I'm a citizen in our community, and people value what I have to say. And it's just an amazing thing that God has done. He's turned around. I'm super grateful that I get the opportunity to help people. I get the opportunity to see them thrive and see them reunited in a relationship with the Lord that they trust. And I think overall, my whole life, I searched for daddy issues, not having a dad. I was my first sexual encounter, and I didn't even know it until I went to started doing some of that work, some of that it came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I had suppressed it so far down that I didn't even know. And so I'm a big proponent of mental health. I believe in deliverance. God can deliver us, but He also gives us doctors and programs and different ways to handle it. I'm just really grateful for all the different things He's allowed me to do in my life, because they all lead to what I'm doing right now. So I would have never said I want to grow up and I want to go to prison, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed my life forever, and it really helped me help a lot of people.
Such an amazing story.
God has worked in your life. That's amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I know I read a lot. Sorry.
No, that's amazing.
Thank you
Wow.
for sharing all of that with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's amazing what God's done for you and the doors that He's opened when you give your heart to Him and trust Him with your future.
Yeah.
Really super amazing. Like I could sit here all day and tell you about all the miracles, all the blessings. But again, I won't tell you that it's rainbows and butterflies, because it's not. I have a My son just turned 18 in the Department of Juvenile Justice System. But that same little baby that Ben and I had has been struggling since about 14, and he's been in and out of juvenile range and such. And the enemy thinks he has him, but he doesn't. Like, I know that God is able. My daughter is 34. She's almost 2 years clean and sober now. And she was drank just like I did, right? And so I know that God is going to turn things around for him as well. He'll be coming out in June. But again, this life is not easy. I'm busy. I have to make myself stop because I just want to go so hard for the Lord, right? And so it can be difficult. It can be difficult to find a nice balance. It's spending time with the Lord and doing things with the Lord, right? So allowing Him to pour into me, and like I tell the girls, your first fruits in the morning, spending that quiet time with the Lord is imperative, right? And just making an effort. If you have a relationship with anybody, you have to make an effort to get to know them. And I let them know that if you don't have this firm foundation in the Lord, when that storm comes, you're done. And I use that. I got this big, tall sand pine in front of my house, and during the hurricane, that thing almost broke. It went down so far, but it got back up. It never broke. And I like to use that analogy with the girls. You have to be so rooted and grounded in the Lord that whatever comes is not gonna break, because life can get lifey and things can get really hard, and you'll start to feel like, is this worth it? And then you want to go back to that old way and that old person, that old lifestyle. But I play that tape all the way through. Almost every time I had a drink in my hand, I've got some silver handcuffs. I just know that's not what.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that analogy with the tree and staying rooted and grounded in Jesus. Yeah. It's so true. We all need that to get through every single day. Need Him to get through every single day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And you didn't have that tree in the beginning.
Did not.
And now He had to grow that tree for you and help you through that so that you could weather the storm.
If you've been enjoying this content and you'd like to support our podcast, we would love for you to visit our website, hemetmeinthemiddle.com, and there are some links for that in the show notes. There are 3 different ways to support this podcast, so if you want to be on one of our support squads, we would love to have you.
Yeah, and one of the quickest and easiest ways to support us right now is to like this video and share it with somebody that you know needs to hear it, because it's going to fill them with hope and encouragement also. Leave a comment. Please help us in any way you can get this information out. Thank you for answering the call. That we feel that we've been led to do this, and we're thankful that you're joining us, because it's our mission, and we're so happy to have you on that mission with us.
Thank you so much for being one of our loyal, supportive listeners. We hope that this is bringing new life and encouragement to you in your walk with God.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, He's been blessing after blessing. He's good to see. And I wrote I have a whiteboard at the office over there at River, and He gave me the vision in October 2024, right before we got that house, and I drew out this that we have now, and I also drew out home, HOM, which is Haven of Mercy, which is apartments, or tiny homes, or something, because there's such a need for women and children. I have them call me all the time. I did take a former client and her baby, and we did it for a while, but it's really hard when you're living in a household who can't have their children back, with women who have their children, or 11 moms and 1 kid. You know what I mean? It can be challenging. I just know that He's going to bring that fast to you. I don't know when, and I don't know how, but I trust that He will. I would have never thought He's done the things that He's done so far. It just blows my mind sometimes to think and to see exactly where He brought us. We've had some successful galas and fundraising events. We have a ladies' brunch coming on May 9th, and just the way that He uses what these girls have gone through. Some of them share their testimony. It's amazing. It's amazing to see how He has grown these ladies.
Definitely a story of second chances, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. I also love that what you said about you give them a hand up, not a handout, because sometimes when you give too much, right, then it's not taken seriously. It's expected, right? And so
and then we're
it
enabled.
doesn't work.
And they already are entitled. Most of them are entitled. They think, oh, I had a hard time and a hard life, so I deserve this. I deserve, somebody should take care of me. That's not how it goes. You're not entitled to anything. You're not even entitled to the breath you got. And trying to change that stinking thinking. And that's what a lot of the things in prison taught. And I get to teach that now to the girls at the local camp. But that I'm an alcoholic and I'm clean and sober, but I don't go anywhere. My thinking still can become stinking again. And I have to really stay grounded and stay with the Lord and remember that my thinking got me in really tough places. And I have to run it by the Lord. How do you know if it's the Lord speaking to you? He's not audibly speaking to me all the time. And I tell him, the more you spend time in that word, it's the living word. You're going to understand him. You're going to know, and the Holy Spirit's going to give you a little ding. That's not what you should be doing. But the more time you spend in the world, the less time you're going to understand what the word is. So trying to help them understand that and understand, even if they stop doing the drugs, even if they stop drinking, even if they stop the codependency or the toxic relationships, they're still dealing with them. And if they don't work through the trauma, 9 times out of 10 is the trauma that happened to them before they were old enough to process it. And they just stuffed it like I did. Just stuff it down. We're not talking about that. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. And eventually it's going to come out. If you don't deal with it, it's going to come out one way or the other. I always use that whack-a-mole, right? You know, that game is back in the day. When I'm doing good, I'm cruising along, everything's great, and all of a sudden I get angry. Or whack that thing down. Oh man, that rage, oh, that jealousy comes out again, right? And I gotta whack that one down. Like, I gotta stay on task. I'm a representative of Jesus Christ. That's a big deal. People look at me and they're like, if I'm over here screaming at one of my employees, they're gonna be like, yeah, see, I told you about those Christians, right? I have to watch what I do, how I react or respond, practicing the pause and responding and not reacting to people or situations. It can be a challenge. And so
Absolutely.
people are always watching me, right? And it's not like I'm doing things to show off but I want to hear good, well done, good and faithful servant, right? I don't want to hear, you know what? I'm going to have to count for every little gossip I said, every little thing I said. I don't want to be there for a long time.
Right?
I'm already.
That's not easy, walking it the whole time and being observed. So yeah, that's a whole nother layer of of difficulty. But
Yeah.
what a blessing
But
you
he's
are.
equipped me, right? He said he would equip me with everything that I need. Even when I don't feel it, I just got to remember I got to go back to the word. Hey, listen, what you said here you were going to equip me with everything I need. Right now, I need some strength because I feel it. Right now, I need you to help me because this is tough, right? And like I said, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. My first angel, Lindsay Kraft, when she left my program, we have a hard and fast rule: no relationship for a year. There are a few hard and fast rules: no drugs, no alcohol, no violence, no relationship. Why? Because you need to work on yourself, right? And so she decided she wanted to get back with her baby's dad and left our program. Ended up pregnant again. This was like her 4th child. She gave up for adoption. And when you do that, you feel horrible about yourself. You go back to drinking. And she ended up back in prison. She did an essay to come back home, go back to Angels of Mercy. And she left DOC on a Saturday and they found her dead. And I used to that's why I go so hard because then women me and I changed my narrative. Like, her life was such a blessing, right? Like, if you knew how harsh and hard this girl was, and she had HIV, she had cancer, she had so much trauma in her life, and like for her, we would be on the golf cart going to AA, and she'd be back in the back of it talking about Jesus loves you. And people would be like, what's wrong with her? Like her whole lifestyle thing, right? She was such a blessing to people. Like she had, and I'll see her again, right? So I don't paint that picture of we have to live while we're here, and she's not suffering anymore. She's not in pain anymore. She's with our Lord and Savior, and so I'm super grateful for that. Recently, another gal, Jade, she was with me from community control. She had 10 years in prison. It was called institutionalized. Didn't know how to make it out here. She was on community control. It was really difficult for her. She decided she wanted to move in with her boyfriend. Same kind of deal. She left us, and I don't know, 6 months later, and it's heartbreaking to see this cycle and what happened. But her too, she said the prayer with Miss Jan in the Bible study, and when we had a little memorial for her, and like her family really didn't even know her, like they were just starting to know her again. And Jan stood up there and she said, when she came to that Bible study, she loved pink. She had on her pink, and Jan must have had on some pink, and they connected. The second Bible study, she said, well, she said the prayer, and she's going to be in heaven. And like, it's just such an amazing thing to see, what we think is success. If you ask in a nonprofit, what's your success rate for these girls? My success rate for them is that they had one day above dirt in a relationship with the Lord, and every day matters. Every day counts. And they may not see it that way, but that's how I see it. I see that they've had another day with their family, a chance to get together, and do the next. So I think we're changing some lives and some mindsets here. It's just an honor that I get to do this every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how does the different programs that you have and the store and everything, how is that all funded? Is it all donation? Well, aside from that, it's absolutely. But
My daddy takes care of me. I'm his favorite. I can tell you my favorite. I'm really not his favorite. He's really not a respecter of person. But like John said, I'm the beloved. So I had t-shirts made, hashtag Hope Dealer, when we started out, right? And actually, it was one of my clients, one of my girls who works here, hashtag Hope Dealer. But mine says hashtag Beloved on it. And anyway, so God has really found creative ways to help us be possible. Like I said, Larry is a big funder of ours. He has helped us creatively get mortgages on these properties. And I've tried for government funding and I never got it. And I felt like the Lord didn't want me to be attached to anything. Like He wanted this to be His ministry. I'm a member of City Church, but this is not City Church. They do support us. Actually, we have other churches that support us. We have other people, but yeah, mainly it's the funding, donors funding, our galas fund us. My daughter was working for Google, and they would match her 100%, up to 10 grand. Just different ways to creatively fund maneuver and navigate. The girls, like I said, they pay $175 per week. So in a perfect world, when everybody's working, then have a 0% interest rate on money, which makes it a plus. So God finds ways to creatively. I walk by faith and not by sight. I don't look at those numbers too much. I have an accountant, I have a bookkeeper, and I really never know how stuff is working or funded. And nobody's ever told me, hey, your lights are going to be shut off. Okay, great. We're doing good. We've got some extra money in the bank, and God is still really working things out. I did apply recently for a grant, a transportation grant. I'm hopeful to get that because they've taken the public transportation away, and it's really difficult for the girls to utilize this new system. Scout, right? It's like not. There are 2 hours waiting for a ride to work. I'm trying to empower them to be self-sufficient, and this is really knocked it for a loop. So I've applied for a grant for that, where my ladies would create a job for them. They would be the drivers of our vans, and they would take them. We would take them to AA, we take them to church, we take them to medical and mental health appointments now. But when they start working, we take them in their first 2 weeks, and then we expect them to get it on. But that's really not taking a chance of not getting to work because you get fired. I'm hopeful to get that. Help them out.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your greatest need right now in all of your programs?
Always prayer for these ladies that they would have a real change of heart, that they would really, like that 18-inch disconnect I talked about, that they would really allow the Lord to heal them, that they would really allow Him to free them, right? Because then they can reach back and help them. I'm not going to be here forever, right? I need somebody to get it together so they can raise up and take this thing over for whatever the Lord will have to go next. Leadership, right? Send the laborers to help us within the ministry. Of course, funding for what it is we need in our next steps. Like I spoke about that home, that Angels of Mercy property, tiny homes, whatever the Lord has coming. I feel like it's coming pretty soon. We've had a lot of opposition. There's been, the enemy tries to creep in certain ways with certain people that do have attachments to them. And I always pray, Lord, send only the people that you want here. But sometimes I feel like they slip in. And so just continue to cover the homes in prayer, the ladies' minds in prayer, and just for us to grow at the pace that the Lord has us to grow and send the people. whatever growth is making happen.
Yeah, and as always, we will have all the links for Aura with all the things that she's doing. And I'm assuming there's a way that if somebody wanted to give you a donation, they could off of your website or just maybe even mail it to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Our website
so
has our address. We have PayPal, Cash App, Zephy
okay.
is a nice platform that if you want to give the service fee, you can. If not, you can put zero to pay with the ministry. So that's all. There's a monthly donor spot under Zephy, which is great to have them coming in. No matter $5 a month, it doesn't matter. Whatever you could afford would be great to have that coming in. Yeah, you can check to the address there. Yeah, all those things.
Awesome. Yeah.
And our shop also is second chance boutique. So everything in our shop is donated from our the ministry. That way, if everybody's brand new and nobody's working, we still have this money coming in. So it's really such a blessing. The different things people bring, it's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure that's a whole nother conversation of all the things that have happened.
I have all my goodies in here, like I have a lot of jewelry and things in here, but silver lamp things, right? Like silver is pretty high now. So I have a gal who does marketplace for me. And so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I split the proceeds with her in the ministry. She does posting of all things that wouldn't sell for that amount in my shop. We put them on marketplace. So I've had high dollar brand names to help me, right? A whole stack of things. Items that she puts on marketplace, and that helps her. She's amazing. She's got 6 children with her and her husband. She's a teen challenge graduate, and she's doing really well here. She came from the prison I was in, works at my shop, and just really doing some amazing things. So that's a great supplement for her family. She's got a car. We got a car donated, and we fixed it for her, and so she's doing a buy here, pay here, so she doesn't have to Uber $80 to go see her family in Cala.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Lord has been super faithful. But yeah, it's amazing what people bring here. I'm like, they gave us that? What? Wow. Okay, that was really nice of them. That's expensive.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just thinking too, it's like if you hadn't gone through all the things that you've gone through, you wouldn't be able to help the same people that you've been helping.
So true. So true. I remember crying on my prison bed, yoga mat bed, right? Lord, why? I came from a good family. Why? Like I'm around all these people that probably didn't have the best upbringing, and I've never. Nobody was an alcoholic in my family. My dad was an addict, but I didn't grow up around him, so I couldn't understand how I got in this predicament. And he said, not an audible voice, but downloaded in my heart, if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to understand. And I didn't understand that then, but now I'm like I wouldn't be able to tell these girls the things that I've gone through if
Right.
I hadn't walked through it. They didn't want to hear it. They like same thing when I was a kid. Those people trying to counsel me, I didn't want to talk to them because they couldn't understand what I was going through. They might have had some sympathy, but they really couldn't have an empathy for me because they hadn't walked that. And God really uses every little bit, every little thing that you think is a failure. He uses that. I find myself talking about things and I think, wow, I thought that was such a horrible thing. And now I'm freely able to speak about it, help somebody else get freedom so they can speak about it.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing to see how God works in everybody's lives and the fruit that comes from it because of that. And when you're going through it, it doesn't seem that it's going to work out like that.
It doesn't feel like that.
Oh.
And that's funny because we got a grant to do safe, serene, clean at Riverview. We got safe hardwired lighting, hardwired security cameras, and garden. And it reminds me, I often say some people plant, some get to water, and some reap the harvest. I may never see the harvest with a lot of these ladies. I'm hoping we see some of the things we planted. But anyway, I may never get to see it, but I do know, like I said, that they said the prayer. And I do know that they believe in their heart, or hope that they believe in their heart, and that I'll get to see them, whether or not they make it on this side or not, that I'll get to see them again in heaven.
Yeah.
Things that I think are so important, things I used to think were important, living like the Joneses, having the best of things, having the nicest car, none of that is important. None of that. The things that will last are love and the Lord and my relationships with these people out here. And he has grown that so much. I used to be the go-to girl back in the day for bad things, right? For drugs, for alcohol, for whatever, right? Now I'm that go-to girl. Oh, you need a place to stay? Oh, okay, you got kids. Oh, I know. Oh, you need some furniture? We might have it here. You need some clothes? I got you. Like, I'm the go-to girl for the Lord in a positive way now, right? Like, even use that.
I love it.
I do want to say, before we wrap things up, that it's so inspiring to hear all of these stories and how so many people are coming together to help others, how God is working things out to make a way forward for restoration and healing and redemption. Like, because that's the work that he does with all of us. And so hearing all these stories has just been so inspiring and so beautiful. And so I hope that our listeners will take that to heart. Like, God cares that much about each one of you, and he wants to restore your heart and your life if you'll let him. So it just takes surrendering to him and his provision and his will and his direction and just trusting in him. So I just wanted to highlight that before we wrap things up. So thank you for sharing all of that, Aura.
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me. Such a blessing.
Thank you.
Such a blessing what you all are doing, and yeah, just grateful to, like I said, be a part of what God is doing and helping more of his people. There's so many hurt, there's so many that don't know him, and if they would just take a little bit of time, because they would see that he wasn't punishing God that they thought, that he wasn't angry with them, that he loves them, that he forgives them, and he just desires to have them come home like the prodigal.
Oh, thank you. We're so glad you could join us today.
Yes.
This was amazing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Y'all be blessed and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You as well.